Farmer Nicole here. This is part 2 of our Farmer Nicole's step-by-step chicken bone broth soup recipe. So why I'm saying that it's a bone broth soup is this. Last night what I did is I created a bone broth and I put the chicken backs that you're seeing here that I broke down and picked through just a little bit ago, as well as, and that's about 1.5 pounds, and I have an 8-quart crock pot, and I put 1 pound of the chicken thigh and drumstick bones in there as well. So that's what I started off with in the water. I put a bunch of seasonings. So I did our pre-packaged mild and mellow, which has salt, pepper, and coriander. And I also used the AIP, which is the herb. And AIP, for those of you who are not familiar with that term, follows the autoimmune protocol. So in that package of seasoning blend, we have pink Himalayan salt, rosemary, and thyme. So in here, I have in my broth, I have the salt, the pepper, the coriander, the pink Himalayan salt, the other one is sea salt, by the way. The thyme, the rosemary, I put in a bunch of bay leaves because I love bay leaves, and I put in some saffron. So I have all of that in there. I have tasted it. I really like the seasoning profile, the flavor profile on it, so I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm not going to add any more salt or pepper or anything to that. I have my little potatoes here that are going to go into the soup, into the crock pot. I have my carrots, and just as an aside, in my previous, the part 1 version of this, I indicated that I was going to leave the carrots overnight out on the counter. I ended up putting them in the refrigerator, covering them and putting them in the refrigerator because I remembered after I said that and I was cleaning up that they were going to dry out and get kind of gross. So I put those back in the fridge, so we're good to go with that. I had, in that other video, I put into the red bowl overnight in the refrigerator to thaw out 1 pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast. And so that was thawed for me to cut up just a little bit ago. And so what I did is I actually only took 1 of those breasts. So I'm a really big fan of soups and stews and broths and all of these things. Not really Manny's wheelhouse. He'll eat them, but it's not really his thing. So what I did is I took that 1 pound chicken breast package that I had found in the back of the freezer along with my backs and my backs and my thigh bones. And since it's cold here, I wanted to make the soup last night. So that's kind of the backstory of, oh, hey, let me just do this. And then I was recording it for you guys. So that is how all this came to be. So that being said, I have 1/2 pound of chicken breast here that I have cubed up. I have in here the meat that I'm going to put into my bone broth soup, and that comes off of the chicken backs and the other bones, and this is kind of the mess left over. So I wanted to show you guys that because sometimes people are like, ooh, is this what it's supposed to look like? So yeah, this is what my mess looks like, and this is going to go into the trash can. This has got cooked bones and things that the dogs cannot eat. So this is going to go into the trash because I have managed to grab as much of the valuable meats and cartilage or anything like that that either I can or the dogs can eat. So this is the little bit that's left over for the dogs in this bowl, and that'll go into their raw for this evening. I'll also make them some bone broth to help keep them warm since we're going to be a little chilly this evening, and then I'll make sure I get that out to Summer as well in the pasture. So this is the chicken that came off of the chicken backs and a little bit off of the thigh and drumstick bones. This is the raw 1/2 pound of chicken breast, the carrots, and then the potatoes. So I'm going to put all of this into the bone broth, put the lid back on it, and it had a 24-hour timer. So as of about now, we've got about 15 hours of the broth in motion. I pulled the chicken backs and the thigh bones out probably about an hour or so ago. With our bones, you want to be very careful. I typically don't go more than 12 to 14 hours on my broth because our bones are so clean. They're non-chemical, as you know, and that's why you're here with us. But they're so clean that I don't want them to stay in the broth too much longer than 12 to 14 hours because I do not want them to start to disintegrate in my broths or my soups. So how I do it is I put them in the broth, or put them in the water, let the broth sit overnight. In the morning, I pop them out, I strip them down of everything else that I can take out of them. I separate out what's going to be for the dogs. I separate out what's going to be for me or for Manny and I. And then I go ahead and put it all together depending on what we're going to do. So what you're seeing now is kind of a collection of everything. And I'm going to get ready to slide all this stuff in. And then we're going to go ahead and, let me see if I can do this one-handed without making too much of a mess. I'm going to grab the tongs. I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for a couple of hours while I go back up to the office here on the farm and I get some more work done. And then I will come back in a couple of hours and all of this will be ready for lunch. So there's the breast that I put in, move the cutting board out of the way. I'm going to put in the other stuff that I pulled off of the backs and the thigh bones. So I probably got maybe another cup of meat off of the backs and the thigh bones, which is really great because obviously we don't want to waste anything. And every little bit makes our tummy smile. So we got all that. Okay. Put this out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and put the carrots in. I'm going to slide these in this way without making too much of a splash. Hopefully, okay, got those. And our potatoes. I'm going to put the potatoes in by hand because I'm afraid that these are going to make or tong them so they don't make too much of a mess and splash. So like I said, in about 2 hours, I'll go ahead and come back down from the office and I will grab some soup. And I will then I will enjoy my lunch and then I will go back to the office and finish working for the day with our team. So this is what you're seeing. We've got the chicken, we've got the bay leaves are still in there. We've got the chicken to go ahead and cook up. The potatoes are going to give us that wonderful creaminess because those are some really great little potatoes. Everything is that I have in here is all organic. For those of you who might be wondering, I do where I can, and if I can't source it, I get it from the cleanest source possible. So I hope you enjoyed that. This is part 2 of Farmer Nicole's step-by-step chicken bone broth soup recipe, and I will take some pictures later of the pre-enjoyment excitement. So hope you enjoyed this. Let us know if you have questions. Just trying to give you some ideas. This is an 8-quart crock pot, so we're going to be able to obviously have multiple meals, primarily for me, because again, Manny's not really, soups and stews are not really his thing, but I'll really be able to enjoy it. You can see it simmering, and what I'll do is I'll pull out what I'm going to have today and tomorrow, and then kind of do it meal prep style, and then I will create or make a couple of soups that I can put into, once they cool down, of course, put it into the freezer, and then that way I can take those and thaw those either the night before to have the next day, which often happens, or I'll take them frozen, and if I'm going to go any place, I'll throw them in the cooler frozen, and that way I can eat them somewhere if I need to, because we typically travel a lot with our own food for the same reason some of you do, and sometimes it's hard finding good stuff that isn't going to upset our stomach. So hope that helps. Thank you very much for watching, and I am Farmer Nicole here at Circle C Farm. So from our pasture to your plate, thank you very much for being part of the Circle C family. Taste the difference, feel the difference.